Hi everybody, this is Pam with Jesus Junk Journals, and today we're going to work on the Abundance Journal some more. So I'm going to do this Blessing Folio. I've got that written on it, and when I cut things out, I leave I leave things I leave things attached so that I don't have to dig through everything to find the pieces. So there's 3 pieces. There's the left flap, the right flap, and the pocket. And so you need to look through and find where you want to glue it. And I'm going to do the circle closure with the string. So now I'm being really lazy. To get those circles, you could just trace them out on cardboard, or if you have a good punch that can punch through cardboard, you can punch them. I don't have either of those. So what I do is I cut a bunch of circles with my 1-inch punch out of cardstock and stack them up and glue them together. And that's how I make my circles. And then I usually finish them off with a piece of brown paper just so they look like cardboard. And so that may seem like the long way around, but that's what I'm going to do. So you do whatever you need to do. You're going to need 2 circles. I haven't done one for a while. I guess that's right. For some reason I was thinking, oh, you need 4 actually. You do. You need 4. So might as well get that over with. Find some scrap cardstock here and just start punching some holes. I had some bad printouts from that Christmas card holder. I was having trouble with my printer getting the color to come out right. After I've bragged on that printer so much, I just think it's so wonderful. But here lately, it's been really giving me fits on color. And I can't seem to find, you know how there's usually something on YouTube or the internet about everything, but for whatever reason, I'm not finding anything about this particular problem. If anybody knows anything, I'll show you. Here's the color I'm getting. Look at the difference. This is what it wants to print sometimes, and then other times it prints that. And nobody seems to know why. And I've emailed Epson to ask them to help me. And so finally they've kicked it up to where I actually get to talk to a person on the phone. So that this is Sunday. I'm going to call them tomorrow morning and see if they can help me figure out what is going on, why it's doing that. But when it's working right, the color is just amazing. So I'm really hoping they can help me. So I'm just going to start gluing circles together. And then you'll want to get your little paper fasteners, I think is what, I've got the Tim Holtz little miniature paper fasteners, I think is what they're called. Which I think they're just a little bit finer. You can use the ones from the office supply. They're a little fatter and thicker and not quite as, usually they're shiny gold, so that's fine if you want brass. Whatever you want to use. And you'll want to get my awl out. I'm going to get my awl out of my bookbinding kit to punch the hole in the middle. There's 3. 4. Okay, so there's my 4 circles. Get rid of these. Get my little brown paper out here and punch. I really just need 2. Because it'll be on the one that's on top that shows. And I'll also want to ink these because we ink everything, right? So I'm going to stack these two together, kind of hit the edges. I need a new foam pad. It's starting to make a mess everywhere. Might as well just do that right now. Stop talking about it. I think I had one laying here that was still in pretty good shape. Okay, hit that. So if you've been watching my videos, I've been talking about this housing addition they're putting in next to us. We had 30-some acres next to us that were trees and just sort of, there were deer and all sorts of things, and they've bought it, cleared it, and they're going to build houses on it. The good news is the property right up against us is going to be this reservoir for water runoff. So when it rains, it'll go there. So we won't have any houses up against us. But it's caused quite a mess this year. And the water runoff is actually going over to our neighbor's house and washing his driveway out every time it rains. So he's sort of in the process of legal action to stop them. But meanwhile, it rained and this reservoir filled up, and now the geese are flying south for the winter, and so they have decided that this is a great little place to stop for the night. So we had geese the last few nights out there, which is kind of cool. They're out there honking and making noise and settling in for the night. They come about sundown, and I guess, different ones as they fly through. I don't know if the ones before them leave a sign and say, leave a review online for them so they know where to stop, but they seem to have no problem finding this little patch of water. And then last night, I don't know what was going on. The neighbors were shooting a shotgun or doing something down the road, and that got the geese all wound up and started squawking and carrying on. So it's been kind of interesting to see the unintended consequences of this development. Okay, and so I'm going to get my little piece of foam that I use when I do my binding and stack my little circles up, the 2 circles, and poke a hole in the center. And I'm going to push it up so it's a little bit of a bigger circle so they can kind of move if they need to a little bit. Try to not stab myself with this awl. And okay, so I've got my circles ready. And there's my 2 little fasteners. And this, I put sort of a faux inking on it digitally, but you can go back over it and add. I'm going to, because I kind of like to have it be uneven and not look like a machine did it. And then fold your tab and use your bone folder to make it a nice crisp fold on both of these flaps. And so this painting is sort of reminded me of the whole blessing of Abraham in the Bible, and how he was very wealthy, and that's part of his blessing is God just blessed him with the ability to get wealth and be prosperous. And we have that blessing. It says in Galatians, where we have the blessing of Abraham. And so that's why it's in here, because we have that connection to that. Even though it is Old Testament, the New Testament tells us that we are connected and have the blessing through Jesus, which is pretty interesting. And there's not a lot of people that know about that. When I found out about it, I was pretty excited, because if you go back and read about Abraham, it's pretty cool what all God did for him and took care of him and blessed him and gave him more than enough. Okay, so there are my 2 flaps. And now I just need to find a place to put these. So let me look through my, and you know, I try to put one special thing in each signature. I think I'll do it here because this green and gold kind of goes with the colors of this. So I think it'll look nice next to each other. So this is how it's going to be. And then your circles will be here. Boy, that is tight. You know what? I think I am going to make an executive decision. I don't want to lose my fold. Let me think for a second. I'm going to cut just a little bit off this edge and then round the corners off again. So add a little bit more ink. And check that, see if that helps. Yeah, that just really kind of barely gives me the amount I need, but that's all right, it'll work. So I'm going to glue this in. You want to be sure and glue it as close to the fold as you can. I know this needs to go down as close as I can get it to the fold. And the same with this one. And I actually, another way I can buy just a little bit of room is to extend this out just slightly over the edge of the page. So I'll show you what I mean, like let it stick off the page just a little bit. So I'm going to put that there. And this is where washi tape comes in handy. Let me grab a roll of washi tape and glue. Glue this tape on the edge. So that hides how it runs over. That gives me just a little bit more for that circle there. Okay, let me put this in here. Of course, the other choice would be to go the other way with the flaps, but that might be too much green. I mean, you could do that, but I kind of like looking at the image, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. And poke that through carefully and not stab myself. You can put washi tape over that if you like. And then I need my other circle. It's gotten lost in the shuffle. And this is going to go about here. I mean, I could put it closer. I guess it doesn't matter. I think I'll put it there, because I've still got a pocket to put under there. I'm not sure where that's going to go. So I'm going to line the circle up with the other circle as far as put my little clip in there, lift it up, poke it through. And then I'm going to take my wax linen thread, put it between the two circles. Yep. Tie a double knot. Which kind of helps lift them apart so your string can wrap around it easier. And a couple of times around, however much you want. Oh, wow. Well, this one needs to be trimmed. This first one, let me unwrap this so I don't cut the wrong one. Trim this off. Okay, so you've got that in there. So now you've got a pocket that comes wherever you want it to be. However you want that to glue in. I think I want it, I mean, I could also put it here. I think I'll put it there because this is pretty, this is not as pretty, and so this also covers one of the flaps up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it there. This folio that we did, I talked about how it reminded me of Abraham, but I'd forgotten that when I designed the kit, I made this to hold some information on the blessing of Abraham, which is on this piece from the add-on kit. That it's scriptures in Galatians that links us back to the promise of Abraham, because we're entitled to it too. Through Jesus, we are entitled to the blessing of Abraham. So this is all about that. And so this is also part of it. So I'm going to cut these out. And what's happened though, because I didn't remember, I glued this pocket in. And this is made to go inside this folio. And I've got this glued in, and it is not deep enough. I glued it too short. So I decided that what I'm going to do is just make a belly band. Okay, I've got these cut out. Oh, I didn't ink them yet. I'm going to go ahead and ink them. Okay, so I'm going to glue the, this was just a border to go around this. So get that centered as best you can, just to give it a little dimension. And then that was meant to go here, but of course you can do whatever you want. So that is what my intention was. I'm going to pull that over just a little bit, maybe, or not. Gosh, I thought it would be easier to center that. Oh, well, anyway. Okay, so I'm going to glue mine as a title onto this. And then I've decided that for my belly band, I'm going to use a piece of velvet. So I've got some kind of limey green velvet that I'm going to rip a strip out of this. I always forget to do that over the trash can. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that makes a mess, doesn't it? Nothing that a vacuum cleaner wouldn't pick up. Okay, so I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to glue it on the back side like this, so that this whole strip will be open to having something slipped into it. Okay, hopefully that will. And that hopefully will slip in there. Okay, so there's the Blessing Folio. Finished up. And then I was going to look at this envelope here. Oh yeah. Still need to fold it up. I think I'll go ahead and score the lines with the back of my X-Acto knife just to make it easy. And I went ahead and printed this out of the kit, which is for the inside of the envelope. I really prefer to print it on thinner paper though, but I didn't do it, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. But I'll probably have to cut it down because it's going to be pretty bulky, I have a feeling. I have had all sorts of printer problems here in the last week, making me not very happy. I love my Epson EcoTank printer, or I have loved it. And it quit working. The color was coming out really bad, so I called Epson. No, first I emailed them. So they gave me several suggestions, things that I'd already tried and things that didn't work. And so then they said, okay, well, here's a phone number. Call this number. I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And so I spent several hours on the phone for 2 days. I talked to about 11 people, and no one could solve the problem, and they didn't seem to be offering anything else. They just kept telling me to do the same things over and over again. So finally I said, well, is there a warranty? You know, so they had me go back, find my receipt. All of this was a lot of fun. Find my receipt. Let's see. I think I will glue this on and then trim it. And this, I think, is going to need, yeah, this is going to need to be trimmed down to fit there. So I'm going to go ahead and, actually, I'll use my X-Acto knife. So finally, they said, well, nope, the warranty has expired on that. I got it last year, but it was over a year. So they said, but we will give you a 25% discount on a new one if you buy it from our Epson store. I'm like, all right, great, because I'm going to have a printer. So I call the Epson store, and they're out of stock on pretty much everything. And so I said, no, wait a minute. I said, Amazon has it. You're the manufacturer, and your store, your official company store, doesn't have, looks like I trimmed it a little too much. I should have been paying attention instead of talking. Okay. All right. Where there's a will, there's a way. We'll figure it out. So anyway, after a lot of time and effort was wasted, I ended up going to Best Buy. And so here's my suggestion. Here's the thing. If you buy an EcoTank printer, they're fabulous because you can print forever. You can print something like 900 prints with the ink. If you fill your ink things up, it says you can print about 900 prints. The problem is your printer may give out, or at least mine did. So Best Buy offers a Geek Squad something or other for $30-some. It's a 4-year insurance policy, basically, that if your printer or whatever you buy doesn't work, they replace it. And so I thought, well, if this printer only lasts a year, I think a 4-year policy for $32 sounds like a great way to go. And that way, I'm covered for 4 years with this printer. Plus, I get the advantage of the ink being enough to last for 900 prints before you have to replace it. So that was my workaround. And So now I'm waiting for it to be delivered, because the other funny thing was it takes something, I don't know, 10 days or something to come from Best Buy. I'm used to Amazon. So that seemed like, well, do you have turtles delivering this? What's going on? So it'll be here when it's here, and I'll be happy, and it'll be awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do some distress inking on this. And I mean, the Eco Tank printer, the color is gorgeous when it works right. It's just beautiful. So it printed my color. I have some Christmas items out there on Etsy, and so with Christmas, it's really touchy because you've got to have a really good red. And it printed my red gorgeous right before it conked out. So I mean, at least it got my Christmas stuff done before it gave up the ghost. So I'm thankful for that. That might have been what did it in. So I'm going to glue that like that. Put just a little bit of glue here, a little bit of glue over here. And so I've got this little bit here. I think what I'll do is cut the other side down too to match it. I don't think it'll hurt anything. Okay. That looks good to me. The other thing we have to work on, I put a Specimen slide pocket thing in here for you to use. So I'm going to cut my windows out. And the thing is, this is November. So I don't have any flowers blooming to put in here. So I'm trying to think what I do have out in the yard. Oops. And this says seed time and harvest. And so what I do have is a magnolia tree, and it has a bunch of red seeds. It puts these pods out, and the pods have these red seeds on them. So I think I have some out there that I can get my hands on. I'm going to go out there and check those out and see if that might work. So I mean, if you go out in your yard, you can always do evergreen branches or just whatever you can find. There's usually something that you can press and use. The other thing you can do, of course, is keep some on hand, which I did not do. I had this on a sheet of paper, and I did the gel plate printing on it, and it just got printed along with whatever else was on the page, so it really didn't need to be painted, but it's making it a little harder to cut the windows out because there's paint on the back, like 2 or 3 layers, I think, of acrylic paint. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this apart because I think it's easier to line up the 2 pieces if they're cut apart, because you might have to give a little to get the windows to line up the best. So for that reason right there, because when you cut, even if it's a little bit, you usually have more on one side than you do on the other. Okay, so I'm going to get a piece of a sleeve from something that I bought. So I'm just going to cut a piece out of there. Let's see, how big do I need it? That would work. Okay, well, I'm going to chop a piece off the bottom. Hope I didn't cut too much. Okay, so I am going to go out and see if I can get some of those red berries, and I will be back. So I went out and I found some. So here's what it looks like. Here's the pod, and you can see those little red seeds that are in it from my magnolia tree. So I found some just loose on the ground. They look like little fingernails, and they're kind of flat. I'm not going to try and dry them. I may regret that, but well, we'll see. So I'm just going to put a few in here. Actually, I better wait and glue this down first. Okay, so let me try my Fabri-Tac. And I'm gonna just put a few seeds under the flap. Okay. Come on, lay down. There you go. And then I'm gonna glue this flap down. Gotta be sure you seal the side up that's open. This one's already sealed, so I'm not gonna worry about it. And this is gonna stick up, be bumpy because these seeds aren't flat, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, now I'm gonna try and glue this other side down. Okay, so line this up and kind of wiggle it around. There. Okay. So there's my seed time and harvest. And see if I can gently ink it. Should have done that before, right? Okay, so I got away with not having flowers, and it worked out since it said seed time. So that makes me happy. Let's hope those seeds don't do anything weird. Got that little task done.